and good afternoon. How are you doing today? Welcome to Speak Right, aka Creatives Corner here on NYC Radio 88.3 FM Abuja. My name is Emmanuel Ebo, if I write very tall. Black man on the microphone, and as usual, even though she is raising and taking down her nose in disapproval, I have Sonia Aikokian here to stay with me today. Sonia, how are you doing?
I'm doing very fine. Hello, lovely listeners. It's great to be back, and I've not been here in a long time because of your host, your dearest host, Emmanuel Ebo. Why are you looking at me with slitted eyes? Is it not true?
You want to wash some dirtiness in the
I'm
public
just
now?
throwing you under the bus. I don't know about linens. I'm just
Eh,
throwing you. Phew.
it's all right. I will survive. I've already survived. But yeah, as usual on Speak Right, we discuss communication, self-development, and everything in between. And today, people of the Most High, whatever you rate most high in your life, you are the person of that. So let me not say God. But yeah, people of the Most High, let's talk about rejection. Rejection. Have you ever been in that place where you put in all the effort you need to put into an application letter or an email or just a proposal and you got rejected? Or maybe you approached a girl like Sonia for friendship in quote and she very rudely, rejected
Hey,
you.
Wahala.
Or just many faces, many variations that rejection can come in. If you're alive, if you're a human being and you're an adult at this point, you might have faced rejections at some point in your life or the other. So rejection is quite common to some people anyway. I don't know, but we've all been there. After all your efforts, after you've done all you're supposed to do, but it didn't still work out, you still got rejected. How do you deal with it? I mean, it's painful for you to put in all that hard work into, let's say, a proposal letter to somebody, or you're applying for a job, you did all the CV you're supposed to do, you kind of tuned your CV in the best way possible to get that job, and it didn't work. What do you do? Will you enter your room and sit back in pain, cover yourself with your duvet, and cry for 5 days or whatever? What do you do? How do you deal with that rejection? How do you even rise from the ashes of rejection and move on with your life? That's what we had today. So, Sonia, to start with, let me say that the fact that you were rejected, first of all, means that you tried. It means you're making effort because you don't reject people who didn't try. You can't reject an application that was not sent. You can't reject a friendship that was not sorted. So for you to get rejected means you made the effort, you made the move, and that means you are on the right track. So, and if we get that aside, so Sonia,
Hmm.
why do you think rejection pains? Why is it hurtful when you are rejected?
It's just natural. I mean, sometimes the things we're rejected from are things that would might sort of attach some level of self worth to us, some level of inclusion, especially when you're rejected from maybe a group or people or something on more of a personal basis.
Yeah.
It has a way of making us feel, less involved or like we're not part of a group. And naturally, our human instincts, we love to be part of groups. Even introverts have a way of being part of groups, whether you're part of groups online or physically. The natural human instinct is part of groups. And then moving down to like work and applications and all, it sort of just makes you feel, at least at that point, we understand that different people have different reactions to rejection. Some people bounce back quicker than others, but at that initial point, there's always a little bit of sting or hurt, even if it lasts just a couple of seconds. It's just that feeling of, oh, maybe you didn't do well enough,
Yeah.
or people do not acknowledge your gifts properly. There's just always something. Either you make it about yourself, about them, whatever it is, there's just that pain. And it just comes from feeling at that moment that you're not acknowledged, you're not feeling included. It could even be something little for children, like telling them, no, you cannot follow us and stay in the house. The, the kid can end up feeling a bit, not included.
Yeah.
If for adults, it could be something like a job proposal. You put up a proposal for something for a work and they turn it down. Even when you get the words, even when you hear the words, okay, I don't like this, work on it again. There's still this little slight feeling of, it takes a while to grow past that, to just have a skin that just dust every little negative comment
Yeah.
or negative feedback off. So it's just a human thing. It's just part of the way we are wired. And I think it's also important a little to be able to have that pain of rejection, because it helps us to identify what we care about, helps us identify what matters to us, helps us also have time to review and check why we are feeling the way we are feeling about something. Because sometimes you get rejected and you start asking yourself, but why am I taking this in so seriously? Why is it so personal to me? It could be something very tiny, but then it hurts you. So it might be a good time for you to reevaluate your beliefs. What you thought is a very big eye opener. That's why I'll just say rejection is an eye opener.
Yeah, actually get it to know what you care about and what you don't care about. Because if you don't care about that thing, you wouldn't mind being rejected.
Yes.
But yeah, let's talk about the stages of rejection now.
Okay.
There's the very first stage called denial. Like, you feel like, I deserve this thing. Why is it happening? I think there's a mistake somewhere. My name is supposed to be on that list. I think it's an omission. Can I speak to your manager? You begin to deny the thing. You're not yet...
You haven't accepted the reality.
Yeah, so that's the very first stage of rejection. You deny the reality, thinking that someone probably made a mistake somewhere for you to be happening to you. But it can happen to anybody. You can be rejected. You're not the most high. You're not the most high. You might be skilled, you might be experienced, but you just didn't fit into what that person wants. Or it could be just out of their own bias that you don't have any control over. So you don't have to deny the rejection. Yeah, so that's the very first stage of rejection. Very first stage of rejection is called denial. And then we have anger.
Which I think is a very common reaction. Sometimes I think we even forget that there's denial before anger, because denial seems to happen so quickly and move to anger. It happens in such a way that you don't even realize when it moves. There's no distinct there's no distinction, such a sharp distinction to tell you that, this phase has just passed and we've moved into the next one. Anger happens really, really quickly, and we see it a lot. We see it mostly, I think, in romantic settings a lot, more than in job settings. Because job settings, even when you're angry, it depends. If it's a job setting where you're already in the company, you cannot. There's a level to the anger. Yeah. If it's a job setting where you're applying online, they can be. Can you imagine all this? You can be angry at the computer.
You cannot take out your anger.
Yes, but usually it's a lot more prevalent in romantic settings. If a guy asks a girl out and she doesn't answer, there's first the denial, because you can't believe she just said no. What do you mean I said give me your number and you're saying no? So that's the denial. I think it's very easy to picture the 5 stages, especially in romantic settings. And then it moves to anger. Different people have how quickly they work on the anger and get past it, so you may not even know it happened. But there's usually, maybe for people who are more on the aggressive side, women might have reported a lot of people just maybe turning it into like shouting, or just getting almost physical, or just really, really like a little bit like harassment, sort of like verbal harassment or a little physical harassment might occur, just moving from that denial, because really they cannot believe you have the right
to actually say no. Who are you? I mean, we've seen so many clips of people. Some were actually live clips recorded. Some were like acted out anyway, where maybe a lady says no to a guy and begins to insult her. It's even beautiful, and just out of anger and annoyance begins to pour out and just take out that instant anger on her simply because she said no. Don't do that in your workplace. If you're rejected, please kindly.
And sometimes the anger can also be directed at yourself, because again, there's different kinds of people, so they handle these things differently. While there might be people who denial stage for some people be like me, a whole me. Others are like, it's just different. But anger is really a sharp, it's a good filter to know how people handle things when it comes to rejection. There are those who would get angry physically, verbally, start, saying a lot of hurtful words. And there are those who will get angry at themselves. For example, something happens and you're like, I should just not have even asked her if she was going. Rejection, in fact, let's move rejection to like a lower level, from not necessarily lower level, from a different dimension from romantic levels. Let's say you go and ask someone, this thing where you say I did pass myself. We have this thing that you say, I just did pass myself. Why did I just do too much? When you're doing too much, it's like saying you have someone, for example, at home or at work or something, you're like, hey, they got so and so I kept some for you, would you want some? Like, no, thank you, I don't want any. There's this initial like, hey, it's me that even asked you. It's me. Like, the anger might even be more directed. It's like, hey, why didn't I just stay on my own? No, and I was just on my own. Why did I put my mouth inside?
so yes, anger can be directed at yourself
or other people.
Yeah, and after that you have bargaining. Where you begin to wonder, maybe they're just because they didn't really have the full picture, complete information about who I am. Maybe that girl said no, because she doesn't know that I'm actually a crypto lord. or that I am tapping I'm tapping not
Emmanuel,
coin.
please.
Well, yeah, you just begin to check why, and
Yes.
probably feel like the reason you were rejected was because they didn't have full picture, full information, and you
We
know,
even see it when some people try to like after the hurt and the slight anger or big anger, depending on the person, and you have cases where they're like, okay, but like, are you sure? Just like they're just trying to ensure it's bargain, even though we don't know we're doing that, it's
yes,
still bargaining.
it happens just subconsciously.
Exactly. Actually, I think even romantic relationships, maybe when the person has finished getting angry, has subsided, depending on the kind of anger, because it's kind of anger you have, there'll be no room to bargain. So the person goes, no, like really, like why don't you want to give me the number? No, 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 let's talk. Like they just want to get out of that hurt, even though they don't know that do. Some of them say it's tactics, they're just trying, they're just slick
Yeah.
and smooth, but really it's just unconsciously you're doing it, but you're bargaining out of that rejection.
I don't know how we're saying it. It's like, we're saying stages of depression,
Yes,
of rejection.
rejection.
It's not like it happens takes 1 hour or
Yeah.
2 days. It just happens
It
in
happens
seconds, just
yes,
very quickly.
it's really fluid and it
Yes,
just
and
moves into one
You,
another.
you don't notice
The sharp distinctions
yeah.
between them.
And then after that, we have depression, obviously.
Yes.
After you've gone through anger and bargaining, and the other one is now depression.
Yes.
You know,
That
you know,
moment of what happened now? Are
what
you okay?
happened?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Are you sure? I'm fine.
Just that tangled not emotion. So you're a bit of disappointed, and then internalized anger. Anyway, you're confused, embarrassed, you feel hurt, and you just want to be there. It tampers with people's self-confidence. a
Yes,
lot.
and I think it takes that particular stage is one of the most obvious stages compared to the rest, and it takes different times depending on people. For I think a young man who has just asked a woman out for the first time in his life, it might take longer for him than when he's been doing this for 3 years and I realize one
Like-
soldier go, soldier come. So it takes it's different. Especially if you're applying for your first job,
Yeah.
the hurt from your first rejection might sting a lot deeper or harder than a hurt from maybe your 5th rejection or 10th. I don't know why, but 10th rejection. It's just like you become, let's say, a mixture of rejection over time. It takes you being rejected to get used to being rejected.
Yeah, actually. And well, after you've been depressed,
The final
the final
stage.
stage is acceptance. Yeah, it has happened.
It's my cake and I will eat it.
It's your cross.
At least
to
I did
carry.
not die.
I mean, at this point, your emotions have rebounded,
Yes.
sort of, and you are feeling more like your old confident self. You've accepted the reality, ready to face it head on, and let's say move on to the very
Yes,
next
it's
stage.
the vital stage that
Yeah.
that allows you to move on, move forward with your life, just let things go. Because people don't realize sometimes. I think sometimes even these levels of depression can be more cyclic than linear, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They have a way of being more cyclic than linear because, especially among those three in the middle, the ones, the anger, depression, and the bargaining, it can be a lot more cyclic than just after this,
Yes,
and that's the
yeah.
end. Because you can reach a stage where you think you've gone past it and something happens and triggers you,
Triggers
and
this-
you're back to getting angry or back to bargaining in your head or being sad again. So until you finally reach the acceptance stage,
Stage.
you can always kind of go back in
to
circles
a previous stage.
exactly to those previous
Yeah.
stages.
And that's quite normal. If it happens to you, it's normal. Just find a way to snap out of it
yes,
and
quickly, please.
accept.
And move
I
on.
want to say accept defeat, but it's not defeat, please.
Depends.
It's not defeat. It's just a rejection.
Yes.
And I want to, before I forget it, let me just say it
Yeah.
now. More like how people have kind of distortions about rejection. Rejection in one area of your life is not reflective of who you are or other areas of your life. You can be rejected in a particular area or for something. That doesn't mean that you are a failure generally.
Yes.
It's just an aspect. And you are more than one aspect. You are a complex human with a complex nature that can accomplish so many things. What you are rejected at, or the person that rejected you, is just a tiny bit, a tiny drop in the ocean. So just sit like that and don't generalize that me, I'm now a failure, I'm now a rejection. No, please. It doesn't work like that. And just to move on, Sonia, let's talk about how to deal with the rejection. Now, we've talked about the stages. So how do you now deal with it as a person? Or what will be your very first advice to somebody on dealing with rejection?
Well, if you're dealing with rejection from a friend, because again, rejection is kind of multifaceted. It could be from friends, from romantic interest. It could be from a workplace. If it's with your friends, try to recognize first of all that you're feeling rejected and accept your emotions. Don't try to judge yourself, judge the other. Just accept that that's how you're feeling. Now you can seek support by talking to other friends or other family members. Because the way some friends can do some things and then you feel hurt and rejected, like, oh, so and so, I asked so and so person, let's go to so and so place together, and they said no, but I saw their pictures on Instagram, and they were having fun that same day. So you can maybe like voice it out to fellow friends, mutual friends, the family members. Reflect on the circumstances of the rejection and understand it better. Because like I said, rejection is a very big eye opener to how we view things and the things we attach our value to. Then decide on what to do next. Rejection is kind of puts you at the crossroads of saying, am I going to continue being friends with so and so person, or this is the end, or how big is this issue, or how small is it? In romantic interest, well, you have to allow yourself to express your emotions in a healthy way in order to process them. I understand for many guys, after the first rejection, there's a lot of maybe them trying to cover it up with denial. Denial stage for them might last quite a long time. But I think the easiest and fastest way to get acceptance is to get through all the stages really quick. So probably just allow yourself to express your emotions in a healthy way. You can ask the questions you want to ask. But after doing that, because our minds can be sometimes be weaponized against us, because you have cases where people get rejected and they go into kind of depression that it feels like they're never going to come out of, because they're saying negative things to themselves, weaponizing words against themselves. So as much as possible, try to talk to somebody about how you're feeling. No offense, it could be one of those situations where you talk to somebody and the person trash talks to the other person and then you feel good. It's not necessarily the healthiest way, but it could work, I wouldn't lie. So yes, just ensure you talk to somebody, talk it out. You might grow your self-esteem, you might feel more confidence, because it kind of, I think, hurts a lot of people's confidence. Romantic interest rejections can hurt confidence a lot. So when you talk to somebody else, it might let you remind you that, you did spec, you did this. You have those friends when they don't even try to trash talk the other person. They just try to uplift you and remind you who you are and that it's not the end of the world. So I think talking it out really, really helps. And again, remember that rejection is not a reflection of your worth, and remind yourself to stay open to future possibilities. Then in terms of jobs, allow yourself to acknowledge. There's a lot of acknowledging in any kind of rejection. First thing you must do is acknowledge and process your feelings. Now, very critical in jobs, get feedback. Because you were rejected, you don't want to carry the same issue, the same mistake to the next application and still get rejected. Or you do the same business proposal again, and this time your boss goes from telling you mildly, how about you work on it again, to, is it that you don't even understand what I'm saying? You can easily move to that point because you have not gotten the proper feedback. We talked about feedback, I think, one of our youth and tech shows. So please, if it's from work, get feedback, ask why, then keep pursuing other opportunities with a positive mindset. As long as you've gotten the feedback and worked on that, keep pursuing future opportunities with positive mindsets.
Well, in romantic settings, just to add, you need to drop your ego. Don't be egocentric. You might be very good looking, you might be spec, you're just not everybody's spec. Everybody cannot like you, everybody cannot accept who you are the way you are. So drop your shoulder pad.
How many wives do you want to have?
I know that you can get rejected. And even if you are rich, have all the money, some people might have the money and are not looking for money in a relationship, for example. So you don't have what they're looking for. You can't have everything.
You just don't have a say when it comes to these things sometimes.
So just drop it and know that. Then secondly, treat yourself with compassion. Know that rejection is natural, it is normal. You can get rejected for any reason, even for people's preconceived biases. They don't even know you very well. I mean, we've had people say, "I will not marry someone from this place," or I'm not going to give out my house to people from this place.
Okay.
So they don't even know your personality. They don't even know who you are. But just because of their preconceived biases or stereotypes, they just reject you beforehand. So even before you applied, you've been rejected. So treat yourself with compassion and know that doesn't really define you.
It's them. It's not me.
So like I said, just treat yourself with compassion. Know that you are still a spec and you are still skilled in that area. Let's say you are a tech person or you are an employee somewhere. You are still very valued. You can still work very well with other people. And when we talk about rejection, you can also be rejected for not being compatible with a particular job. it doesn't mean that your skills are no longer valuable. It's
Just
just
not
not the best
compatible.
fit
Yes.
for this particular space and for this
Even like
particular
in
time.
schools applications, you see things like we don't believe that our own research interests align with yours. For example, people that are good apply for research positions, you can see things like our research interests do not align with yours. So it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean that you don't have good research interest. It's just not in line with the schools you're applying for. So try to really understand the concept of the rejection. Is this sometimes there's nothing you can do. It's not every person you can get feedback from. For example, the person you are meeting randomly on the road is not about to start giving you feedback of why did you say I'm going to give me your number.
Yeah.
The thing is, I just don't feel like that's all.
Yeah, but right now we're going to go on a very quick break. When
Okay.
we come back, we're going to wrap up this segment on overcoming rejection. Please stay tuned and we will be right back.